You are now tuned into Bassick Conceptz.
Everything is copacetic. Peace. Welcome to another episode of Bassick Conceptz. Perfect podcast for never. I would think by now I've run out of juice, but I actually have a couple of really cool episodes lined up in the future for you. Sometimes I ask myself why I do this, and then I realize that no one else will. There are podcasts, but there's not podcasts doing it like this. Not exactly like this. So today, I have no stories to tell, man. It's like, what do you want? What do you want me to say? I went shopping. I went grocery shopping with my wife. I mean, what else happens? What happens in your life? It's not boring, but I work, man. I work at like. I don't like talking about it because it's like it gives away secrets. I do marketing, so some of the stuff I do is pretty tedious, and it just it's just interesting. What's up? What's happening?
Simply how you make a swagger beat. They said it's difficult. You just go like this. Add bass and drums, it just sounds like this. More synthetic sound. Add swagger. That's swagger! So much swag! That's the drum pattern. Okay, make it zoom. These are drums. Kick drum, kick drum. Hey! Swagger! Yeah, add the beats. Hey! Solo, make my 808 bass. Together sounds like this.
And that is why I didn't say anything, because I knew there was going to be some shit. Because that's what happens when you run a podcast, from your home office. Things happen all the time. Most of the time, you guys see the cute stuff like cats. Cats are cute. My cats are always interfering and interrupting stuff. If you're in the middle of it, sometimes it's cute to include it. Sometimes you gotta cut it out. But it's like the thin line between professionalism and keeping it real. There's always a super thin line. That's the beauty of being a person, being a human, is that like line between persistence and creepy. The line between like thirsty and hungry. The line between enthusiastic and overexcited. They're very thin, and it sometimes depends who you're dealing with. So speaking of thin lines, let's talk about the thin line between underground and above ground. What is above ground? Mainstream. Is it like only direct unit sales, like the indicator of who is the mainstream? Is it how many people heard of you? I'm asking for a friend. I'm just curious. I had a funny conversation with someone the other day. Well, the conversation wasn't funny, but they had said something funny. We were talking about what changes and what stays the same with the music industry. And he said one thing that I found, because I told him, I was like, well, we have to find the things that stay the same because things are always changing. And if we find the thing that stays the same and stays constant, then we can kind of hold on to that and work it for some money without offending anybody. And he said the only thing that I found that was a constant throughout my entire career is dubstep. And I had a good laugh. That was cute. He's right, man. But is dubstep still underground? Marshmello got, I don't want to misquote the number, $60 million, okay? Marshmello's not one person. I mean, technically, or like brand wise he is, but he got 60 million to do like a 5-year residency in Vegas, which is cool. I mean, whatever, duh, that makes all of the sense. Vegas is like gambling central. Of course there's money there to be made. But does that mean dubstep is still underground, or has it hit mainstream? Is a genre still underground if only one artist is like blows the fuck up? Like, I don't know. I can't think of a good rap genre or subgenre, but like, consider. I don't know. If only one person. Oh, maybe. I think it's called GABA music. Or what if somebody who makes happy hardcore music is selling out arenas and getting $3 million to like play in places and stuff? And like, I don't know, are they underground because their song isn't on the radio? I'm just curious. What about underground rap? Does the same thing apply? Like, when do you become mainstream rap? When your style changes, or when you hit a certain amount of sales? Because if you hit a certain amount of sales and you're doing dubstep, but nobody knows about you in the mainstream, does that mean you're underground? Like where is the line between underground and above ground? I'm just curious. I'm asking for a friend. What about, I know this is a sticky topic, but what about the N-word? Where's the line between when it's appropriate to play in a song and who is able to play it? Like, is it appropriate if a dude from China uses a sample that says nigga in it, like all my niggas something party, throw your hands in the air, some shit, and he uses it as a sample in an electronic song? Is that allowed because he doesn't speak the language? What if he was an English speaking Chinese person? Now the same question applies for like black people. Can black people use samples that have nigga in it? Should anybody? I know the N-word conversation is messy, but that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with like parameters, right? There's got to be a line. I'm just curious. I like it to bring up the questions. I like it to poke the questions. You know, like, when is it necessary to use N-word? I had a homie, white dude, tell me, because I always ask my white friends what is their experience with the N-word, like with music. Like, do you say it? Do you say it when you're by yourself? Do you say it when certain songs? Like, when are you using it? And homie said that he only says it when he feels like in the song it's like meaningful, like, and so I asked what that meant, and I think he was referring to like if it was referring to some sort of like serious issue, or if it was really like, I don't know. I can kind of like, you know, you can explain it any way you'd like. I don't know if it's appropriate to only be like, I ride for my niggas, you know? Is that serious? Is that the serious one? I'm just curious. I used to believe, and I kind of still do. I'm on the thing is, if you can't say it, don't play it. If you won't say it, don't play it. Now, where's the line? Because you have now a lot of, for example, like hip hop DJs that don't do electronic music, right? Those guys play tons of songs that are just mainstream or popular that have a lot of N-words in it. And it's like, well, you know, you can't knock their hustle, because of course you can't. But then when you go to the EDM scene, And you have these dudes where there's no black people. I mean, not to say like, I don't know. Are you only allowed to play the N-word in a song when you're playing it to black people? Or if there's like, how many black people need to be there before you're allowed to drop a song with the N-bombs in it? It's interesting. There's some like top 40 club DJs that they do stuff and they play that shit. You know, is that allowed? I think I'm less uncomfortable with that because there's just mad niggas in the club. But then you have like, I have a homie who's like I was saying, there's a construction next door. We're trucking through this because no fucks given. You know, whatever's thrown at us, we take and we roll, because what else are we gonna do? You just gotta pull the trigger sometimes. Pow. I did lose my train of thought though. When there's like a whole bunch of white people and they're all like hippies and they're all like open-minded and everything's peace and love and everything's equality and all this shit, but there's no black people there, or there's like one black person in the audience, but the sample drop goes like all the niggas throw your hands in the air, you know, and or something stupid like that, you know. Or what if the intro verses has like, there's a beautiful Crane song, I think it's called PCP, forget the rapper in it, but the rapper in it, he's like boxing out everything around me, nigga. You know, I mean, those things are things, and he did that verse for that song, which is a great verse. I'm just curious, man. I'm always thinking about that kind of stuff. It seems in this day and age, it seems like most people want to let it go. Like, let it be an artistic accoutrement, like a sprinkling or topping. I've always been weird about that. I've just been weird about that. I don't know. And that's just me. I think if we don't draw lines, then fucking what's the point of any line? I think we should just let white people say, everybody should say nigga all the time. And I know there's a whole bunch of people that are like, yes, fucking exactly, that's what I said. But really, no, it can't be like that. Nah, son. I mean, I'm not asking for reparations, but I think the only thing that should come is if you like, if it's not the context for you to play it or say it, you shouldn't do it. I don't know. What do you think? It's just a discussion. It's just thoughts. You know? Does the N-word make a good rap verse? Do you feel it more when they say it? You know, what makes a good rap verse? Well, let's not even ask that question because, God, fuck. What makes a good EDM crossover rap verse? There was recently he's a producer, E. Kali. He's a producer DJ, but he complained about rap verses for EDM songs, and I think the general gist of it was somebody posed a question, why don't good rap, like people give good rap verses or something like that, or there's no good, like rappers don't do good rap verses or something like that, or they're expensive. You know, the rap verses cost so much, you know, up front for these EDM songs. And then Ikali says, yeah, and then when you do pay the racks, because somebody said you got to pay more racks, more money. And Ikali was like, yeah, but when you pay the racks, it's usually a lazy verse. Which is cute because Ikali doesn't rap. And so, you just don't rap. If you don't rap and you say something's lazy, that's interesting because it's just interesting. It just is what it is. Like, what is a rapper supposed to do? And I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, at what point is it like? At what point does it become a thing? Now, granted, Ikali got popular off of a very brutal EDM song. He works really hard in his own regard. But that song, Threats, that song is heavy. And, you know, I think it has some N-words in it. I don't know. It's just one of those songs. But it ain't Ikali rapping, and I don't think he wrote the verse. So when you say, like, paying for a verse, you know, and then it's like, oh, it's expensive, and then they're lazy, and then they don't do a good job. It's like, it's interesting because you just don't do it. And then, you know, I've heard the same thing from some people in some close circles of mine that are great producers, but they're kind of curious why as well it's hard to get a good rap verse from somebody for EDM song, like good intro rap, because everybody wants a good rap verse to like make the drop for. I think it's cute, because what ends up happening is, naturally, as a producer, I would do the same thing, is you go look for samples, or you go look for verses that exist, or you go look for stuff that exists, acapellas and stuff. Now granted, those have N-words all in them, so I think it's cute when, like, what do they decide to pick out of those portions and stuff. But in whether or not they're like even allowed to do that legally, and in this whole thing of like, well, if you release a song for free, you can technically sample whatever you want because Jay-Z did it with the Gray album, and he was the first person with Danger Mouse to like really have that thing be existent if it's for free and the people want it, and it's for the people and it's not for money. But there we go again with that thin line. Where's the thin line between using somebody's content to like boost your shit for sure because their name and their somebody can just Google those remixes of some famous name and see yours come up, and like that's just by pure connection you have, it's greater. It's just a hack. I consider it a hack. I don't know, right or wrong is a different situation, but at the end of the day, these producers don't rap, so there's not like they're getting up to the fucking coming up there, and they make hip-hop beats though. They make banging ass beats, but they don't rap. So that's where they draw the line. I'm not a rapper. You could get good at rapping, but that starts confusing the issue even more. I'm not personally sure if there's some people that should rap or shouldn't rap. I don't know. I'm of the school of thought that anything is possible, and there can be a fan of everything. Now, there is some technically bad rap, but you can call that. You can beat that. You can beat technicality. Like, technicality is like not rapping on time, but you can beat that. Technicality is not rhyming well. Like, you can beat that. Or like your cadence is shitty. You can beat that. You can beat all of that. Not having rhythm. You can beat that. Style and flair. You can beat all that. I think it comes down to what the fuck you're gonna say. Can you beat that? That's the shit. So if you're able to like chop up and sample and rip up what other people say and do, and the N-word is dropped in there, are white people allowed to do that? Are people who are not allowed to say it allowed to sample it and use it? I don't know. I don't fucking know. I don't make the rules. There are no rules, really. But what makes a good rap or trap or EDM crossover? I always thought it was cute to play with this. My latest hurdle to get over, one of my big ones, is creating an album that deals with this as a concept. Now, I don't want to explain the concept right this second. Maybe I'll make I don't know. Fuck it. It's one of those things where it's still so early and it's still such a beautiful concept that if I say it now, I'm gonna talk my brain completely out of existence from doing this, and I don't want to do that. But it definitely pertains to the N-word and when it's able to be used and where, and is there a genre that it's never used, and what's up? Where are we at with this? And we're about to be in 2020. We're halfway to 2020. It's like how are we landing with this? Because there's I personally think the reason why there's no good verses is because in EDM songs is because these EDM guys don't know any good rappers. Like, think about a good rapper. Who would you want on your song? And why are they not on your song? Like you gotta like, or if you want somebody that's really gonna do a great job and that person's kind of hood and you're not that at all, and not to say that it's always the case, but different cultures. Where do the cultures meet? Where's the line at? What's up with it? I just thought that was really cute. I don't know all the rappers, but I know that there's like this. I mean, I know a lot of rappers though. That's the thing. And I know a lot of people that know a lot of rappers. So it's not hard to find a rapper. Or let me rephrase. It's not hard to find somebody that knows a rapper. that could do a good job. But then it becomes, how well do they know you enough to do an EDM song if they're not naturally just going to do it? And that's where you got to ask yourself. I think it's a personal networking thing that you got to do. That's where the line is. You got to be friends with somebody who does a certain kind of thing. It's like, well, if you want krump dancers on your stage, but you don't know any krump dancers, where's the line? And I'm not waving the banner for like, oh, certain people should or shouldn't. I have opinions. It's just all opinion. I can see multiple sides of this conversation, and I know that there are some rappers. There are some rappers that'll rap the fuck out of an EDM song. There are some rappers that are a little uncomfortable with it because they don't get it, because they don't know anybody in that other world, but are open to it. But that's the way. The culture's got to cross somewhere. I'm trying to figure out a way. To make the cultures cross easier. But there are some people that are doing it. Believe there are people that are doing it. I just don't think it's happening with guys like Marshmello. Because people can know Marshmello exists, but then it's like, well, how do you get people who are only into rap or only into trap music into like electronic or dubstep or like electronic crossover, that shit. Conversions. I think whoever is already a fan of one of the music is just going to be a fan of one of the music, I always saw, no matter how much N-words are dropped in EDM and electronic shows, they don't actually care about black people problems. Like, white people can be like, oh, well, I live in Brooklyn or in the hood or near the hood, and I know people that, and I have friends that, and I'm broke or whatever, and I sell, and whatever people do to like equate their trauma with whatever a black person's talking about.
Brooklyn.
It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up enough for you to just say the N-word. So that's kind of where it's like, they don't care. You don't care. You don't have to care. Nobody's forcing you to care, right? But then on the flip side, you have the hip-hop world who don't involve themselves in the EDM world because it's just not their vibe. They don't have to care. Nobody's forcing anybody to care. They don't have to care, and they don't care. And they're also almost anti. They kind of think it's funny, the EDM kids. They're like patty cake or different, or they're just like, not to say the EDM kids don't make fun of like hip hop people. I don't know if they do. I've never seen it. That would be cute if I saw that. But I've seen at electronic shows where there's like a hip hop show happening upstairs on a different floor or something in a different room, where hip hop people, like I say hip hop people, but black people come down into the show and see what's going on, and then they start dancing really like wacky. They like start doing like, and for me, I think that's just another side of the ignorance. There's no need for that shit. I'm in there. I'm black. I'm enjoying myself without looking like a Carlton, like, like caricature. So I think it's super possible to accept and experience and engage in other cultures for sure in a healthy way. But people are fucking scared. People are scared to let their egos down, their guard down. People don't want to get taken advantage of. People don't want to get made fun of. People worry about what other people are saying. I do a lot of the time. But I see it, man. Don't think I don't see it. Shame on black people that make fun of electronic kids, and shame on electronic kids that make fun of black people or say that rappers aren't giving good verses. Now, granted, if the verse sucks, the verse sucks. But if somebody's asking you to pay them for a verse and you don't want to, you're funny because you're not doing it and you need one. I have songs where I have drops and done things with people where I didn't pay them, but they didn't want to. We split with 50-50 and whatever. And I mean, I feel like that's how it should be, but whatever. Doesn't always add up like that either, too. But you catch what I'm throwing down. Where's the line? You know, what is a real crossover really like? That Lil Nas X guy. Have not heard the song. I've heard like bits and like snippets. But he is a true country music crossover. They also took him off. They took him off the country music billboards because they didn't think that his shit was country. But he makes country music over trap music. Now I'm just gonna let you know, whenever I think of country music, I think of Nelly. I think of like St. Louis. I think of the country. I think of down south, dirty south, right? Not only that, but I do think of the country music, right? Like Western music, cowboy music. But yo, this Lil Nas X kid like kind of scrubbed and made those lines fuzzy again. So he made like Southern music. Rolling on down on the cows in my cars, and I don't know what the fuck. Shit like that, but it's a trap beat. So I guess the world fucking continues to turn, right? Because I feel like that's the world where they're more likely to say nigga. Psych. I feel like all those worlds, people be fronting. I'm not saying all white people say nigga, but yo, people be fronting. So many people are like trying to make that shit casual. It's all good. It's just a good word. It's a good word. But you cannot deny that niggers attached to Negroes, attached to the black and absence of color. Or absence of light. Sorry, excuse me. So, I don't know. If you don't say it, you won't play it. Or if you don't play it, you don't say it. All that shit. What will you do? I thought I would have more steam behind this, because I used to really be super on a tirade about it. But to be honest, as I've gotten a little older, I've just started to care a bit less. I could care more, but you know, I won't get into like how making people uncomfortable is not always a good thing. People like that shit, you know, but people don't like it when you're like doing it to them.
Brooklyn.
They hate when you're doing it to them.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, boy.
I don't know why. I mean, there are certain reasons why. You look at everybody in particular, but man, you know, just with the kind of stuff I've been doing lately, and the kind of stuff I've been getting into, and how I've been seeing it, and you know, I just had to be comfortable with me accepting how I felt about it. You can change how you feel all the time, but I think that is a great way to end this segue of like the fine line between changing your approach and doing the same thing, changing the way you look at it or doing the same thing. I heard a saying recently that I'm gonna butcher, but basically, courage is when you know that there's danger and you could fail, or you could hurt yourself, or maybe even die, but you do it anyways. Insanity is the same thing. So that's life. If I say, well, at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. But then if I say to you, but the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice, like, and getting the same result. How much of your technique should you change when you reapproach a situation? There is no right answer for that. Life is fucking complicated, man. Accept it. Be okay with that aspect of it. There's a lot of mental fortitude you can have. There's a lot of mental fortitude you can have up against those kind of concepts, but sometimes it's just you gotta go with your gut, and then if you fail, you fail. Like, that's just how it is. Like, you know, if you're like, well, the marathon, Nipsey Hussle, you know, long-term stuff. But then on the other hand, you have how many more years or how many more times or how many more things can you do before it doesn't make sense for you to do it anymore? That's what we're dealing with. And I don't think that only applies to things that are just like smoking weed, playing video games, hollering at girls. You know what I mean? I mean, not to say that I do that, but I'm saying like, yo, there's no age that you have to be married or you have to have a partner or some shit. You know, sometimes people don't do it their whole life. Like, I don't know. There's no, that's where it gets iffy. Like, what the people have to do. And it's all like, just, if there's anything to take away from it, go off of your own clock and your own template of this kind of shit and what you think. If you think it's crazy to rap, don't rap. If you want to rap, rap. Now, if you're not making money doing what you're doing, and you don't know why, and you can't figure out why, you're a little bit more off than if you did the same thing and you're not making any money doing what you're doing and you know why. Be self-aware. If you know why, you know why. And if you can figure out how to change why, you just work to change it. And if it's something you can't change, I don't think it's insane to continue doing it personally if you believe in what you're doing and what you're doing, you feel like the change that you want to see. Like just be the change and be it. And if it's tough, it's tough. Like, yo, I don't know, man, like it's like a thin line. I'll leave you with this. Here's the thin line where I know I deal with my wife, for example. She's a big anti-gun person. Not just like anti-gun violence, like everybody is, but anti-gun. Like, she doesn't think we should have one. She doesn't think people should. You know, being from Germany, there's a lot less gun violence, and I mean, right this second there is, historically speaking. But what I'm saying is, amongst civilians, at the same time, there's a magnet on our fridge with Malcolm X looking out the window, holding his AK. And that's a strong-ass image. I didn't put that magnet there. So, you know, she understands that aspect of things too. And there's the line. And so we've never talked about it, but, you know, maybe I'll talk about it today or whatever. Doesn't matter. I'll probably just send her this. What point or where's the line where we pick up arms against a threat? Like, it's good to go to boxing, and it's good to go to martial arts, and it's good to go to karate class. But you can't punch a sword I mean, you probably could hand fisticuff a knife, but, you know, anything beyond a machete, like a gun or something, you know, you're dealing with territory that's like tough. And not to say that it's solved with a gun. Let's not go down that road. But what I'm saying is, unless you're able to come to a solution that involves you and any kind of force that you may think is opposing or puts you in danger, unless you come to a solution that's non-violent, you kind of have to pick a side. You kind of have to pick a what side of the line you stand on, because if, for example, we were ever threatened with any violence that was beyond what I can handle with my hands, and one of us doesn't survive this, like maybe me or something, I don't know how she'll feel afterwards. I mean, if she doesn't survive it, I'll be kind of pissed. Well, let's say the cat. What the fucking cat? I don't know if the cat gets shot, but you know what I'm saying? Maybe it's a near death. I wonder how it will change things. And so those lines, you know, I don't know. Don't be afraid if those lines change for you. And don't be ashamed of like you're dealing with the lines. I'm constantly dealing with the to and fro of the changing of ideas, lines, and all that stuff. But yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll save the Donnie Yen and the Tony Jaa competition for next episode. I think that'll be pretty fun. I might bring a guest on for that. And I have some guests coming up in the next couple episodes. Pretty fun too, and pretty interesting interviews I have to do. So I look forward to seeing you then too. Other than that though, man, I appreciate you joining me. I think we're gonna call it a day on this one. And you know, a lot of food for thought that we definitely chewed on today. Be easy. Naeem Hakeem, Bassick Conceptz, perfect podcast for never, signing off. Subscribe, press all the buttons. You know the deal. Deuces.
I've been fucking busting out everyone around me, nigga. Let me count me out this logic. I've been plotting a ball on every drama till they bounce it, nigga. My code damn it, I'm lucky that they found me, nigga. I was playing with the pistol while the pounding, nigga. Caught a paper from the rip, I pick a nigga off the top. They been quick to hit and die for a pounding, nigga. And I'ma push it back till I'm booked for Mac. Still sitting sideways trying to push a plaque. Straight up close and looking back. They only talk when they tough, but they were niggas that look good at. I don't need 100 bodies for every place that I've been there. He the quarter body to every face in attendance. Leave you in your pockets on everything from the end. And if a nigga poppin' fire, gon' never think it was this. I've been fucking boxing out everyone around me. I've been fucking boxing out everyone around me, nigga. I've been fucking boxing out everyone around me. I've been fucking